And even when they scorned him, when they spat at him, when they humbled him, he opened not his mouth. He was like a sheep led to the slaughter. I don't know if you've ever seen a sheep when he's led to the slaughter, but I encourage you, look it up on YouTube. It's a fascinating thing.
My God.
You see, what they do in order to get the sheep to go to the slaughter, what they do is they just turn him on his side. Or they turn him on his back, rather. They turn him on his back so that the sheep can come, or the sheep herder can come and shear the sheep. And when the sheep is on his back, he doesn't move.
Right.
He doesn't turn. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't fight. He doesn't argue. He just lays there helplessly. It's a crazy thing because as long as the sheep is on its feet, it'll try and run away. It'll try and move. It'll try and fight the person who's shearing him. But as soon as that sheep is on his back, he stops his fighting. He doesn't do anything. And the Bible said that the Lord was like a sheep led to the slaughter. He opened not his mouth. Yes, it was true that it was false things that those heretics were railing against him, false accusations that came against him, and we know that it wasn't true what was being said. We know that in himself he would have been within his right, from our perspective, to stand and defend himself. And even to the point when he hung on the cross and those men criticized him and said, look, this man who saved others can't even save himself. And they railed against him and said, well, if you really are the Son of Man, the Son of God, then call down angels and take you down to rescue you from this place. But even though it was in his ability to do it, he opened not his mouth. We will know what is in our vessels by how we react to the situation.
That's right.
For if when your enemy comes to curse you, and you curse back, then you know that you've got some attachments left in your vessel. If your enemy comes against you, comes in like a flood, instead of lifting up the name of the Lord, you try and pull out any other weapon that you can find to defend yourself, then you know that you still got some other things inhabiting your vessel. If the enemy comes in and speaks all sorts of lies to you, and you have a tendency to believe them or even repeat them and indulge those lies, then you know that there's something else in your vessel.
That's right.
But we need to ask the Lord this morning to empty us, to purge us, to wash that vessel, to wash those attachments and get on the inside and to scrub, get his gloves on, so to speak, and scrub down, way down inside those attachments that we can't even see, those things that we don't even recognize that are in us. We need the Lord to wash us, and not just wash us, but to purge us. See, there's something what happens when you start to purge something. There's a violent reaction that takes place when something is purged. See, purging isn't fun. Purging isn't gentle. Purging is not something that we enjoy. Why? Because it gets deep to the core of who you are, and it scrubs, and sometimes it's painful because those stains that have been in there from our past life, they take some elbow grease to get out. So when something is purged, sometimes it takes a chemical reaction to lift that which has been deep down and seated in us. We need the Lord to purge us this morning, and to take his blood and to wash us and to scrub us and to cause a reaction to bring up all those things that are so deep seated in us. But the Lord will not purge us unless we're willing. The Lord will not purge us unless we surrender ourselves to be cleansed completely. Until we say, Lord, I desire you to take over, he will not step in. What is in your vessel this morning? What is in us? When your enemy is reacting and coming against you, are you cursing him, or are you falling down on your knees to seek the Lord in every situation? You see, when David came to this place and Shimei was cursing against him and bringing all manner of accusation against him, Abishai stepped up, because Abishai was a mighty man of valor. He said, who is this dead dog that should come and speak against the king? Who is this vile man that should come and dare come against the king of Israel? Who is this man that he should come? And he said, shall I take my sword and do away with him?
My God, dead dog.
It's a natural reaction, because Abishai had been with David for some time. He had known David, and he had been in battle with David, and he had seen David. They had fought side by side. And so it was natural that Abishai would take a sword and be ready to fight once more. See, those are the kinds of people that we need to surround ourselves with people who are ready to fight. People who are ready to do battle, not in the natural, but in the spiritual. People who are ready to take on the enemy on our behalf and ready to have no vengeance, have no mercy on the enemy. Those are the kinds of people that we need to surround ourselves with.
That's right. Amen.
But David, this man who we said was a man after God's own heart, even though Abishai was ready to fight and to take Shimei's head off, even though this man was ready to go to battle on his behalf, David stopped him.
That's right.
David said, you know what? No, my own son is fighting against me. My own household has raised up against me. So how should I expect anyone else to be any different?
That's right.
David wasn't full of himself to say, you know what, I'm the king, so yeah, do away with him.
That's right.
But David was humbled.
That's right.
David was humbled in this situation. He didn't look for a man to defend him. He didn't look for his armies or his bodyguards to defend him. He didn't look for the mighty man of valor that went with him to defend him. But he was humble in the same. Now we would look at the situation and say, but he was still king. He was still king, so why didn't he allow Abishai to take off Shimei's head? Why didn't he allow Abishai to take care of this enemy and to silence him? You see, David had been around long enough and had been in enough situations that he knew that his defense did not come from man.
That's right.
But that his defense came from the Lord.
Yes.
See, he understood that if Abishai were to cut off Shimei's head, that it wouldn't just end there, but there would be a continual battle to fight. And he knew that it wouldn't be the end of the story, but he knew that if he allowed the Lord to defend him, then the Lord would take care of the situation completely.
That's right.
He even went as far to say that who knows if it's not the Lord who has commanded him to curse me.
That's right.
My God, what kind of wisdom is that?
That's right.
To say, maybe the Lord himself has sent the enemy to curse me.
That's right. Reveal strength. Yes.
Give some thought to that this morning.
Yes.
David said that maybe the Lord has sent my enemy to curse me.
Yes.
Now why would David make such a statement? And why more so would the Lord send his enemy to curse him? Sometimes we need a situation to humble us.
That's right.
For us to recognize where we are.
That's right.
And not just to recognize where we are, but who we are.
That's right.
For there are many of us who come to church Sunday after Sunday, we say, learning to lean on Jesus, finding more power than we've ever dreamed. But then when Monday and Tuesday come and we're on the job and someone comes against us, we've forgotten our lessons on how to lean.
Right.
We've adopted a temporary amnesia where all of a sudden we forget that we said that we're looking to lean on Jesus. And instead we start to lean on ourselves. We start to lean on our own understanding. We start to reason and try to figure out things for ourselves.
That's right.
But David understood that if he were to fight his battles for him, he'd be fighting a losing battle. If he were to try and stick up for himself, that he'd be fighting a losing battle. But he had enough wisdom to recognize that perhaps this situation had come from God to teach him something. That perhaps this situation, this humiliating situation in which he, the king of Israel, found himself on his face, running and hiding from his own son, that just perhaps the Lord had allowed this situation to come to reveal a few things. See, David had been in enough problems and trials to understand that sometimes the battle or the enemy, the cursing, doesn't come from your enemy, but it comes from the Lord. David had enough experience in his back pocket, so to speak, to understand that sometimes it was the Lord himself that would try his servants.
That's right.
Sometimes it's the Lord himself that tries us to see who we are. And it's not so much for him to see who we are, but it's for us. For sometimes we get like Saul and we see the way that the Lord has used us in different milieus. We see the way that the Lord has ministered to other people through us. We see that the